Hi guys, welcome back to Warlord Gaming. Today we're going to be having a look at the flakpanzer 4, or the Wirbelwind. I've had this mod now for a couple of weeks and I haven't had a chance to put it together, so we're going to do it today. I'll unbox the kit and show you the bits and pieces it comes with. I'll clean it up and then I'll stick it together, and then we'll have a little chat about the actual tank and the rules for in boat action. So starting off, I'll open the box. Usual stuff. Decals, smoke markers. I like these little smoke markers, they do come in handy. The kit himself. It's got the little cards. These are nice, I love these. There's all the rules on here. Looking forward to actually using it. We'll go over later my plan for it. So it's a resin hull, which looks pretty clean, to be honest with you. Pretty straight. Yeah, pretty straight. Fair play. I do like resin tanks. It's got a little bit of weight to them. So when you're gaming, I do feel it feels better when the tank's actually got a bit of weight to them. We got the tracks. So these little knobbly bits here will be cut off and sanded down to the bottom of the tracks. But it's a pretty clean for resin. One of the cleanest ones I've had. So, oh, there's little indents there for the knobs. That's even better. The ones I've done previous, I haven't had these little indents. So we've had to. It's nice to have something to actually fit in with the glue, because resin can be a little bit of a bugger. What I find, if you file this area and so you scratch it, give it a bit of a key, super glue sticks a lot better. So just in case you probably already found out yourself, but if you haven't done resin kits before, the actual two parts are sticking together. It is nice if you just give it a scratch or a light sand, rough the surface up, and it do help the super glue stick. So yeah, so there's the tracks. Who's packed it? Gabor or Gabor, thank you very much. So there's the quad flak 38s. Pretty nasty guns, I suppose, if it points towards you. But we'll go over the actual tank when we put it together. So there's a few heads here for the crew inside, which I like. And the actual turret, or as they called it, the biscuit tin. So nice, the bodies are already stuck in, they're already pre-molded inside. See there, it's a nice little piece. There is a reason why they left it open topped and not fully enclosed. It's because the smoke from the guns, if you did put a lid on, and when these were firing, the interior would smoke up, so they have to leave it open topped. And then you can guess what rules is got in boat action. So yeah, it's open topped, which is a nuisance. But I suppose that's the downside to it. Yeah, but it looks a nice kit. Pretty straightforward to put together. So that fits. Oh yeah, there's some little bumps in here to scrape off and cut off. But it shouldn't take me too long. So I'm going to clean this up now, and then I'll stick it together, and then we'll have a little chat about it then. So see you in a minute. Right guys, I put together the crew compartment and the guns off camera just because these pieces are quite fiddly, and I don't think anyone needs me listening to me curse when I'm trying to stick that piece on that piece. The heads were alright because the actual neck stem fitted in the body nice. There's quite a hole left in that. When the super glue goes off fully, these can be bent back into a bit more squareness. So it wasn't too bad, but it was just a little bit fiddly with the gun sight. But it's a nice little model. I know Rubicon have made a plastic one of these. Rubicon kits are very nice, but I've already had this, so I'll probably buy a Rubicon kit one as well. So I've done most of the cleaning up. See little bits like that. Little file, get rid of them. That's not too bad. These files, don't be fooled when you go into a hobby shop and pay stupid money for a set of files. I bought these files from one of them like cheap DIY shops. I think I had a set of 6 or 7 different shapes, sizes. You don't want to look. If you just scratch it like that, you can use a hobby knife, but I don't really want to cut my finger off on camera. So give it a good scratch, and that gives it a nice key then to sit in. Just clean these little nibbles out. If you are gonna, if there's a lot of sanding to do on a resin kit, you don't really want to be breathing in the dust. As you can see, look already, it's quite fine. I don't really want to be breathing that in. So I've had some resin kits which comes with a lot. It takes like this bit here is quite warped, so it takes a lot of sanding to get it nice and straight. I'd wear a mask personally, and I'd do it out your shed, or when there's no kids running around. So yeah, so these tracks are right and left. If you actually look at the tank, right side, left side, but then you can also tell by the drive wheels as well. That'll be the front one, and that's the rear. But it is handy that they left and right them, so you don't want to be sticking them on back to front, because I think they would fit the other way as well, probably. I think, would they? Yeah, they would go the other way. I don't think it really matters, like. But you might have someone say, "Oh, that's the right hand side," or something like that. I mean, but if you want to stick these kits together nice, you do want to get them right. It's the first time I've actually put a kit together on camera, so this is a little bit an easier kit than I thought it would be. The Rubicon kits can be quite. There's quite a lot of pieces in Rubicon kit. I think watching me look at instructions, cutting out little pieces, I don't think anyone needs to see that, to be honest with you. So I'll stop rambling now, and we'll have a chat about the actual Wirbelwind itself. So Wirbelwind in English basically means whirlwind, which fits, because the idea behind it is meant for anti-aircraft with the quad 2cm flak 88. But they found that it was insufficient, damaging Allied planes, so it was quickly replaced, basically. So it didn't have much of a lifespan, but it was replaced by the Ostwind, which is still I think it's still based on a Panzer IV, but it's got a quite slightly bigger caliber of a gun. It's got a 3.7mm flak 43. The Ostwind is in English as East Wind. So they replaced it with that. But this tank was very, very good at taking out light armoured vehicles, small reconnaissance tanks, transports, deadly against trucks, anything like that. Even worse against infantry, which could be quite harrowing if you're on the end of one of these things, blasting at you. The reason I got this is going to form part of my Eastern Front German army. I'm going to paint it in the Dunkelgrau with camo, but then I'm going to put some snow whitewash on it, on areas, to make it look more wintry. The reason being is I read a book, I think the book I read a few was called Blood Red Snow. It's the diaries of a German soldier on the Eastern Front. And in a part of the book, he describes a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. He didn't actually state what it was, so it could have been a mobile wagon. But they were getting overrun by Russians, and one of these things opened up onto the Russians, which is, don't really want to be on the end of that. But he was saying like how devastating it was, and the actual gun in itself, the Russians was obviously shot at the anti-aircraft piece, and the gunner was still fighting even though blood was dripping down his arms. So quite if I think it's in that book, because I have read a few When I was putting my Eastern Front Army together, I think I read one. I think I had one on audiobook. So if you do know the pattern book, I won't remember it. Let me know what book it is. But I think it was Blood Red Snow. And if you haven't read it, if you are interested in Eastern Front, or you even put in a Russian army, because there's quite a... You don't find much about the Russians. I think a lot of their stuff has been gonna go through their old their censors. So if you do anything about Russian soldiers, it's probably a load of rubbish you're gonna do. But some of the German ones are the same as well. But some are quite true. Like this one really. It was more just about the general soldier sat in his foxhole in the snow. A lot of it was about like just his daily life, which is interesting to read about or listen about. The good thing about boat action is when you're building an army, is you learn the history and just what these people had to go through on both sides, because I think the Eastern Front was harrowing, to be fair. So it's always good to have a read up and actually find out what actually went on. And personal accounts are always the best of the common soldiers. There's some great British ones as well. I can't remember the top of my head about it, but it's basically like a book about stories of British tankers and tank commanders, and there's some great stories in it. Fair believe. So there's the tracks. This took a little bit of sanding, but it fits on alright. So obviously I'm not going to glue that in because I wanted to be able to do a 360. So yes, I like this kit. I like the tank. It is a pretty cool tank. It's pretty nuts, like if you look at it. But I have got my plans for it. It's not really for anti-air. It is going to be for taking out transports, taking out infantry, or trying to take out infantry. When I've actually put this together, I'll pause it, I'll undercoat it, and then I'll go over the actual rules itself in the German army book. See how many points there is. I don't know myself yet because I haven't actually put in a list. But I got a thing about tanks, as you could probably see from the amount of tanks I've got. That I very rarely use half of them, but it's more just of a collection for me. I think when I'm happy with my German tank collection, I probably will get some British tanks. I do like the old Cromwells and Churchills. They are the Cromwell's probably my favourite British tank. I have actually got a Cromwell kit, but I haven't really found the need to put it together because there's already 2 British players at our club, and someone got to be the bad side, I suppose. So in Napoleonic, I'm the French. Bow action, I'm the Germans. But I have got a British 8th Army. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos. I've got a few armoured vehicles for him as well. I've got these are little bugger things. General Lee. I got a Matilda, and then just after I bought the metal resin kit, they released nice plastic ones, which was typical. I'll probably still get a few more when I go back to my my Desert Rat army. I do like the tank war game as well. That's pretty fun. But I find if you use infantry and tanks in the same game, tank wars can just be a little bit of just rolling dice, just shooting each other from across the table, which doesn't always play out for the best game, I find, anyway, personally. I do apologise for my fingernails as well. I don't wear nail varnish. It's Xandri dust. I've been undercoating some of my SES this morning. So, but if you do want to wear nail varnish, then that's up to you, because it is a free country, but I don't. So where's the little fact? There you are. So I think only between 87 or 80 odd to 105, 110 will actually produce this tank. They don't actually know the figures because records were burnt or lost or destroyed with bombing raids and stuff. But around that, so very, very rare would you see one of these. Same as the Puma. You know, they weren't really mass produced. I don't think a lot of German tanks were really mass produced. I think the Panzer IV was probably their best tank overall, because very versatile, especially the chassis. You know, there's so many different variants of the Panzer IV. I think they went a bit nuts when they started trying to produce these mega tanks. You know, Ferdinands, Jag Tigers, Tiger 2s. Oh, there it goes. Oh, lost it. No, it is. See, my hands are not the best when making these. My hands do shake quite a lot. I don't know if it's working with power tools, but we in work we do have a lot of white finger tests, and they picked up that my hands were shaking. But I passed the actual pin test. It's like a little test with like these little rods, and you got to put them in these little holes, and left hand, right hand, and see how many you can do. And there's like a certain number you can do, well, the general person can do, like, without dropping any, and they count them, and then over the years, then they actually see your progress of all your hands. They did pick up on my hands shaking, but it's not actually. I haven't got white finger coming, which I would be very surprised if I did, to be honest with you. I've only been on the railway for 12 years, so I think it could take it takes a few years to set in white finger. But it did pick up on my hands. So sometimes I can't paint because it's so bad. But so there she is. Flakpanzer IV. Hope my fingers are stuck to it. The thing about super glue is great sticking to your fingers, I suppose, because that's what it's really designed for. But a nice looking kit. I really like it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes just to make sure all the super glue is dry before I undercoat it. And then I'm going to undercoat it. And then we'll talk about the actual rules for itself and bolt action. And maybe see what I can come up with in a list or something like that. How am I going to implement it? There's not many selectors with 2 tanks. This takes a tank slot. So if you do come against someone with a Sherman, I think if you take this in your list, you gotta take some foot slogging anti-tank, to be fair. The last game I played, I took the Panzer IV Ausf with the light howitzer, but then I took a unit of Pioneers with I think they had 2 Panzerfausts and a Flamer, so pretty nasty unit in the half track with a light anti-tank on it. 2 squads of SS with 2 Panzerfaust in each squad, and a Panzerschreck team. So that was my anti-tank, because yeah, the Panzer IV Ausf is only got a light howitzer, and my opponent did have a Cromwell. I was expecting a Firefly or a Churchill, because that's what he usually brings, but he brought a Cromwell tank. So I used my Panzer IV as bait, so I put it in the middle of the board. I edged it out of a few buildings. His Cromwell took the bait, and then I brought my reserves on with my half tracks with my SS in and my Pioneers on the left and right flanks. Come around, I managed to get behind it with a Panzerschreck team. The Panzerschreck team actually failed to damage it. It did set it on fire, but he passed his test, so it didn't destroy it. And then my SS team managed to get up to it within 6 behind it with Panzerfausts, and lucky enough he took it out. So the Panzer IV was a bit more of a trap more than anything, which I hope he was taking for, because if he'd ignored the Panzer IV, there's nothing the Panzer IV can actually done to his Cromwell, except maybe annoy it with a howitzer shot. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, so I'm going to give this now a few minutes, and then I'm going to spray it, and then I'll go over the actual rules for the self and bolt action. So I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. So I've undercoated it. I used Citadel Zandri Dust. I like this colour for the late war German tanks as an undercoat. It's so smooth. I've used it now on basically most of my late war German tanks as an undercoat. I've got a Panzer IV to build as well, with a long barreled 75, but I'm going to do that in Panzer Grey, because I think it looked better than Panzer Grey. I'm not fussed on the shirts with all the camo all over it. I probably will end up doing one like that just to have one, but I do want my Panzer IV, which I'm going to build next. Panzer Grey, I think. Then I'll have a Panzer 1, 3 Panzer 2 for some reason, and I got 2 Panzer 3s. I've got a Panzer IV Ausf at the moment, but I haven't got one with the actual anti-tank on it, so I really want to get that on the table because it is a great tank. So yeah, so we're going to look at now the actual rules in the actual game itself. So you find in the anti-aircraft vehicles, obviously in the German armour book, it is 240 points regular, so it is quite expensive. 270 points veteran and 210 points inexperienced. Now I'm not sure about running inexperienced because this thing is open topped, so you can pick up pins from small arms fire. So an inexperienced plus a few pins, I think you'd probably put it out the game. For the extra 30 points, I'd probably take it as regular at a minimum. Me personally, try it if you get it and you try the experience and it still does a job, saves you 30 points, then happy days. So it's got 4 turret mounted light autocannons with a 360-degree fire and a forward facing MMG. So this thing can put out some dagger, to be fair. It is still a medium tank, so it's a 9+ the damage, but it is open topped, and it do come with rule as flak. So if someone has got an air observer and this thing on the table, you've got a pretty good chance of negating that. So the light autocannon itself is range 48, shot 2 is +2 pen, and it's HE1. So this thing can put out 8 shots at +2 pen. That's 48-inch range, plus the MMG. So again, I think against infantry squads, I think this could be pretty nasty, and against transports. So that's my main idea behind it. I wasn't going to really use it as anti-air. It was always going to be suppressing squads. Get it on an objective or get it to a good tactical point on the table, and this thing could just punch out these shots, putting pins on squads, putting pins on vehicles. Because it got +2 pen, it can still pin tanks as well. Maybe if they bring a veteran tank, you might not actually be able to do anything. But anything under the medium tank or medium tank and under, this could probably pin it. Maybe even if you're lucky, get a few glancing blows on it. But we'll see. I am looking forward to using the game, but it does take a tank slot. So I'll probably have to take some anti-tank foot sloggers, maybe a Panzerstrike team in a half track, or load a couple of squads up with Panzerfausts. But yeah, I'm going to paint this up soon, and hopefully get a game in with it. So thanks for listening to me ramble on and putting this together. So it's the first time I've actually put something together on video, like I said before, so I was a bit apprehensive about actually doing it. But I think it's a nice little kit. It's easier than I thought it was going to be. Coming in one basically blocks of resin. The only little fiddly part is the actual inside itself. It's only really the gun side that was the fiddliest bit. So yeah. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. And happy hobbying.